do get firearms, I send them across the border, make money for myself from that, other people make money from it. Today I'm going to discuss how guns are brought from the United States into Mexico.
Would you say you have a dangerous job?
Yeah, probably the most dangerous you can have. It's literally just storing it away and sending it about its way. So my mom was in jail, I need to put food on the plate. I ended up selling it to somebody who ended up taking it to California and making money off of it, so everybody ate at the end of the day.
2009-10 was like our wild, wild west days out here where we were in chases every day.
And what are the odds someone has eyes on us right now?
Oh, pretty good, dude, because these are all scout hills.
At what age would you say you officially joined an organization?
So I was about 10, 11 years old.
We spoke with a cartel member last night that alleged that one of the ways it gets through is paying off Border Patrol, paying off police.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that.
What is the cost to buy a Border Patrol agent?
$9,500.
In a good month, how many guns can you get across the border?
I want to say close to that. Yes, it is.
The power Mexican cartels have accumulated is hard to fathom. With Jalisco New Generation Cartel and the Sinaloa Cartel leading the charge, these paramilitary crime syndicates have global reach.
God
They are
damn.
heavily
200,000 guns. Oh.
armed, deeply connected, and absolutely ruthless. Specializing in drug trafficking, human smuggling, extortion, and more, these organizations pull in billions of dollars every year. And the United States plays a part in this because the ugly truth behind some of their power is American guns. Now, as Americans, we get mad about the fentanyl flooding across our border. But what about our guns that are flooding into Mexico? In this episode, we expose the pipeline. From cartel operators to U.S. gun smugglers running thousands of firearms across the border to the law enforcement agents fighting to stem the flow. These folks are the players in this deadly supply chain of power and violence. And would you believe that some of our own three-letter agencies might be involved? This is the story of how American guns end up in the hands of Mexican cartels. What's up, bro? Good to meet you. Is it true that different people in the game are on the run right now?
Oh yeah, most of the people I know just either their people either got hit by, one of the three people that were going out there raiding people, or just had some shit happen, or some people getting audited and they gotta go on the run. So Mexico is just the go-to right now. States are too hot, state troopers, Border Patrol up in Phoenix.
So do you have a fear that if you did a bad business transaction that someone would come looking for you?
I don't fear for my life at all in this situation, just because throughout this whole business, I've been clean business. I see myself as a way of just normal, civilian that's out here just trying to make money. So you're gonna have the gun itself, where the gun is, who's the one that's either gonna get it or who has it. I go buy that off that person at a price where I can make a profit for myself. I send someone into a store to go get something from me, and I have my people that I sell it to at a pretty good markup. They send it to one of their kind of workers, drivers, and just gets taken down to Mexico in like units.
So you don't physically drive across the border?
No.
That'll be dangerous.
Would you say you have a dangerous job?
Yeah, probably the most dangerous you can have. Because you're not just dealing with, legal issues, you're also dealing with territorial issues.
For those not familiar, the Sinaloa Cartel is one of Mexico's most feared and notorious drug cartels. It was led for years by El Chapo Guzman, a ruthless kingpin famous for running a global crime empire and escaping a Mexican prison in 2015 through a mile-long tunnel. He was recaptured in 2016 and extradited to the United States, where he's now being held in ADX Florence, America's most secure prison. He's locked up alongside people like infamous gang leader Larry Hoover and the Boston Marathon bomber. And with El Chapo behind bars, Sinaloa's future has never looked more uncertain. Marathon Boston. He's locked up alongside people like infamous gang leader Larry Hoover and the Boston Marathon bomber. And with El Chapo behind bars, Sinaloa's future has never looked more uncertain. But make no mistake that from Chicago beside people like being held in ADX Florence, America's most secure prison, he's locked up alongside people like infamous gang leader Larry Hoover and the Boston Marathon bomber. And with El Chapo behind bars, Sinaloa's future has never looked more uncertain. But make no mistake that from Chicago to California, Omaha to Phoenix, the Sinaloa reach is still quite powerful. All right, folks, we have a sheriff pulling up from Pinal County. He's had a lot of experience in the field. We're going to be interviewing him as well. You have the wildest collection of patches that I think I've ever seen. If we interviewed a cartel member last night, what are the odds that he would be Sinaloa given the control they have in the area?
If he's not Sinaloa, then he's risking his life.
What's your process to do it?
It's literally just storing it away and sending it about its way.
And are you physically driving it in a car, or do you have other people do that?
No, there's a chain of command and there's people that do that. You can go into a gun store right now and buy, your typical mini-me, something like that for $9,000. But if it falls out the back of the truck, I can get it for $5,000.
Do you work for one primary cartel, or do you freelance amongst many?
Just one.
Is there any difference in how difficult it is to do business from the Biden administration to the Trump administration?
There might be a couple hiccups, but it's all business. It's all the same. Honestly, it's crazy. I can't imagine the border right now. People are scared to go across more than ever before. The risk and the paranoia of it, because some of this shit is they'll load your car up with 20 blocks. And imagine trying to drive across the border, thinking that, and then if the X-ray's gonna pick you up, shit like that. I guess nerve-wracking, Once the border got tighter, things are hard to do. Get into America, you know what I mean?
Was it actually that easy with Biden as president?
I felt like there was a lot more things coming in.
Is it noticeably more difficult now that Trump is in office?
Yeah.
Under the Biden administration, it was a free flow of everything. The people have stopped coming across so much. I mean, we're way down. I think we were at about 7,000 to 12,000 a week, and we're at 300 to 700 a week now.
At what age would you say you officially joined an organization?
Since I was about 10, 11 years old. Yes, apparently.
There was a study done by the U.S. government from the Government Accountability Office that found that 70% of firearms found in Mexico traced their roots to America. Does that surprise you?
That's probably lowballing it.
Yeah, it might even be closer to 80, 90.
No, if anything, I feel like it would be a larger number.
Closer to 80, 90% maybe?
Yeah, probably closer to 90.
How much power do the cartels have in places like this in Arizona?
On the American side, they are very smart businessmen, right? They don't, they're getting a little more overt about their stuff, but you just don't have a lot of in your face like you do in Mexico, right? We don't have rolling gun battles here. Sinaloa holds pretty good control of our state. They have not given it up, and they've been here a lot of years.
Are there people in America that are officially part of a cartel, or is that only if you live in Mexico?
It's going to stretch all over the world. We'll just put it that way.
Now, according to Arizona law, these gun smugglers could face up to 10 years in prison if caught for the crime. But what's interesting to me is the same U.S. government that will hammer these guys.
Imagine you get caught in 3 guns. It's 30 years.
For selling guns, also like to sell a lot of guns overseas themselves. This has happened a lot of times in recent history, but let's just highlight a couple of recent examples. Take the Soviet-Afghani conflict in the 1980s. The CIA funneled tens of thousands of guns to the Afghan fighters, the Mujahideen, to win the battle against the dreaded Soviets, our enemy at the time. Fast forward a few years later, the same Mujahideen fighters that we armed with the guns that we gave him, some of these guys later turned into the Taliban, which was really good for the military-industrial complex because this fueled another 20 years of war and profit. And most recently for the United States politicians and arms manufacturers, we have sent billions to Ukraine and Israel, which some could say the US taxpayer is indirectly responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people, including women and children. So while a low-level smuggler might spend a decade behind bars for moving a few rifles across the border, the corporations and politicians who benefit from this arms dealing will walk free. Because when the violence is industrialized, it's no longer a crime, it's just good business. Is there any misrepresentation of the American media about the cartels? Like, basically that they're horrifying terrorist organizations?
It's not how they picture it though. It's so media, it's so brainwashed, and they say, oh, the cartel, it so runs this whole area, and if you go there, they're gonna kill you, or this and that. Yeah, the cartel might run a specific area, but as long as you're there and you're not causing no trouble, or you're not out there to steal from nobody, or just sell anything, you know what I mean? If you're just there on good terms and like checking in, everything be good.
Do you think that's a fair picture American media makes of them?
No, that's easy to label something that you can tax. We gotta take care of our own people, you know? The government ain't helping. We see cartels setting, you know, side bombers or people in the United States go do mass shootings and get their agenda across or anything. You know, most of the things that cartels do, unless it's someone in America that was working with them and fuck them over somehow, that's when they'll go after you as a person in America.
What do you think about Trump potentially labeling cartels as terrorist organizations?
That he should start here with the people on this side.
What do you think would happen if Trump tried invading Mexico or drone striking cartel operations?
It's not gonna be good.
Currently in the news, the US and the Trump administration is considering using drone strikes against the Mexican cartels. But how do we know if these stories are biased, how they're being framed politically, if we're getting the right scoop on what we're being told? This is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, Ground News. What they do is they pull thousands of stories across the internet and compile them, and they rate the reliability of the story based off the political bias of the source, which is very helpful because they give us an indication of the reliability of the stories that we're hearing. Just take these stories about drone strikes. Most of the outlets covering this are center or lean right. And Ground News lets you compare these headlines side by side. Take this left-leaning source that says drone strikes will lead to another Vietnam, and take this right-wing source that gives the counterpoint that cartels are using drones to spy on US troops. One of my favorite parts about Ground News is their blind spot feed. What it does is it shows me stories that I might not receive based off the biases I might have or how my algorithm is structured, and it shows me more of a full and complete picture of what is happening in the world. Ground News helps me see through the noise, see through the bias, and help me be better informed. If you subscribe using my link or QR code, you get 40% off their Vantage plan, which is their most robust plan on the site. Go to ground.news/TommyG to get a better handle on the news you're receiving.
It's very, very, very much like the Italian mafia. They are very family oriented. I can tell you from the Mexican side of my family. We have family gatherings all the time. We have carne asadas. We get together and play loteria, and, you know, all this kind of stuff. The difference being when they go to work, it could be to go skin somebody alive that's their enemy, you know. This road in particular is a major smuggling route, and I've had a lot of chases on this route.
And what road are we on right now?
We're on Stanfield Road. These mountaintops will have scouts on them. So all of these valleys out here can have routes where they are pushing people and product up, and they use those routes. The scouts guide the loads. When they get up here to kind of the civilization, that's when they'll hit these regular routes, blacktop routes, on the freeway, shoot up into Phoenix, because Phoenix becomes the hub.
And what are the odds someone has eyes on us right now?
Oh, pretty good, dude, because these are all scout hills.
Why is torture used so often amongst the cartels?
Pain is the best teacher.
When is the best?
So you're a runner, go to a gun store, get it, let's say it's torture used so often amongst the cartels.
Pain is the best
The
teacher.
best teacher. Shoot.
So you're a runner, go to a gun store, get it, let's say it's me. If I get flagged, okay, that's a mission that went astray. If not, how often would you send a guy like me to get it again and again and again?
I mean, I've had people that, you know, you wouldn't believe the number of stuff they cut out under the name. It's really kind of strategic in a way, because the way the background checks work is it will show up as, you know, either a pistol or a rifle. It doesn't go into the system as that specific firearm unless the ATF is flagged and involved. You could have someone go store to store, get 5 guns in their name, just one day, clean record, all that stuff.
For you have someone in your family that has died from gun violence in Mexico.
Yeah,
Do you blame the guys in America selling the guns?
I don't. I just blame the shooter, really.
How do you feel about being involved in a business that arms the cartel?
It sounds worse than it is in a way. I mean, you think about it as what I'm doing is basically doing what larger corporate companies have done with other third world countries. You know, Taliban has all guns made in the USA. What I do is I still make those people money. You know, the big corporate, big gun industry still gets money for me, but I also make some money myself in a way by just doing what they're already doing, but on a smaller scale. Even if I stopped what I was doing, someone would just come and fill in for me. Might as well try to make my money that way, and it's something that's happening in a whole different country.
So gun smugglers will risk prison time for a few $1,000s of profit a month. But what about the big players in what some would call the military-industrial complex? Let's just look at the Russia-Ukraine war, for example. Lockheed Martin's stock hit an all-time high. Raytheon's production lines are going off the charts. Billions of dollars in weapons have flowed across the Ukraine border and across the European nations that are gearing up, looking to refill their arsenal in what has proven to be one of the biggest spending sprees in defense since the Cold War. Now this is where the gray area comes in. Is this right? Is this wrong? Because whether you look at Ukraine, Israel, Afghanistan, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. I don't know the answer to all this, but what I do know as a tax-paying citizen is what I've gotten out of the deal are dead soldiers, civilians, destruction, a bad reputation globally, while these companies in the military-industrial complex have reaped the profits in the billions.
Well, I don't think the gun manufacturers make the guns to give to bad guys to like rape, pillage, and carnage their own countries. So I don't think that's a good way of looking at it.
What made you choose this job over anything else you could have done?
Honestly, the thrill of it in a way, and just a large interest in guns on my part. The money's there. I got lucky with, finding some people. Honestly, I think this is a lot morally acceptable than drugs, safer than drugs, less corrupt, less dangerous,
So my mom was in jail, I need to put food on the plate, and then once people started offering me guns for product, and like tremendously, like no product was like damn near getting a gun for free, that's really what changed my eyes, because of some kid who went and robbed the car and found this a gun in the car, and he was scared to have it at home. So he came to me and he said he didn't want that. He'd rather have a little bit of weed.
How much weed do you think you gave him?
Probably like 7 grams. And like that same night, I ended up selling it to somebody who ended up taking it to California and making money off of it. So everybody ate at the end of the day.
2009-10 was like our wild, wild west days out here, where we were in chases every day, load vehicles, stolen vehicles going south.
I just escaped. Wait. That's crazy.
So everybody ate at the end of the day.
2009-10 was like our wild, wild west days out here, where we were in chases every day, load vehicles, stolen vehicles going south. So they would go to Phoenix. They could have a stolen vehicle out of West Phoenix down here within about 40 minutes. And so they would run stolen south. They would cross them over, because there's parts of the border just south of us that are just barbed wire fence like this. So they would cut that shit, drive across, and drive the stolen into Mexico, load it up with dope, and then drive it back northbound under the dark of night. And so we would be out here in night chases with them, going after blacked out vehicles, chasing them through the desert, trying to get them before they got to I-8. The scouts would all coordinate their movement. So we would have counter scout operations where us and Border Patrol would work together to try and take the scouts off the hills when we knew loads were coming, so that they were flying blind essentially. And then under the last presidential administration, it was so wide open that they didn't need any of that stuff. Nobody was stopping them. So, and there were so many of them that there was just a flood of people coming through, a flood of dope coming through. Border Patrol was tasked out in all these other areas. It was like Thermopylae for us, man. I mean, we were up against, tens of thousands of people, and it's really not even our job, right? The immigration piece is not the sheriff's job, but we were stuck with a lot of this stuff. Our military was essentially teaching other countries how to defend their country, right? And
guys, we got to cover some more cartel history, because American guns are not the only thing that the United States has contributed towards the rise and dominance of Mexican cartels. Let's take you back to the mid-90s to Fort Benning, Georgia at the School of Americas, where for decades and still today, this was a place where Latin American military forces were brought to practice skills in things like urban warfare, interrogation tactics, and psychological warfare. The School of Americas has since been renamed due to many former students committing various coups and human rights violations across Central and South America. Classes here are taught in Spanish and oftentimes led by U.S. Green Berets. One of the groups that was trained here was GAFE, one of Mexico's elite special forces groups whose job it was to raid high-value targets and combat narcotics operations. In the 90s, about 30 of the GAFE guys eventually defected from the Mexican military to work for the Gulf Cartel, which they later left to create their own and one of the most feared cartels of all time, Los Zetas. Now, the majority of scholars agree that this was not some CIA psyop on purpose, but rather an unintended consequence on the part of the United States. However, there are known cases of former special forces guys being put on cartel payroll to teach their soldiers and sicarios advanced tactics. Just food for thought as we look at the history of how some of these cartels came to be. What's been your biggest month in revenue so far?
I think the best run I had is I made 70K in 4 months.
How did that feel?
Amazing. I never felt that level of accomplishment before in my life.
Have you ever been visited by a 3-letter agency?
Allegedly.
How is that?
Pressuring, in a way. One of the things you want to do with that is you want to have them talk to you. You know, doing that, I was able to find out, in a way, what they knew about me. You know, where also I reflected where I went wrong, other factors, and how much they knew, you know.
So you kind of stayed silent and let them talk?
Yeah.
This is the Obama solution here.
So someone could be camping out here and someone's hustling a load.
Yeah, and we've had that happen where there's been people out here either hunting or just camping for a weekend, and they'll have a stolen vehicle in the middle of a chase, run right through their campsite and blasting up here to the interstate to get away from the cops. And so this whole area is kind of, again, just like the other area, all the high points, you're gonna have scouts. There's usually scouts on this hill, and there's scouts a little bit deeper in, and so they're watching over the valleys.
The cartel member we spoke with last night said that if drone strikes were taken against the cartel, we really escalated against them, there would be a ripple effect where they're gonna escalate the violence here and try and, I mean, do you see that as a potential chess move that really results badly for the American citizens?
No. If they just look historically at the U.S., they would understand that that's a really stupid statement to make. I think it was Japan that woke up the dragon, right? I don't think they understand what they're saying. Like, that's fine to say, and there's a lot of machismo in that. Like, hey, if you mess with me, you come after my family, I'll come after your family. That's all fun and good, but when you go to war on the U.S., that's a whole different level of fucking with us that we're not gonna put up with. And I don't think they understand the hate that would come their way if something like that were to happen.
Do you ever have sympathy for some of these guys that, like, hey, while I don't agree with what you're doing, I get why you're in your own situation?
Yeah, man. I mean, again, having a wife that's Mexican, there's some of her family that are involved in some of this stuff. I don't hate them. It's family, and they're doing what they think they need to do to get by. And again, it's all circumstantial, man. What you're facing in your life and how you're dealing with it, I definitely have sympathy for that. I don't think it's right for them to do what they're doing to get their money or to get ahead or whatever, but I can't fault them for trying to get ahead and do well for their family.
People, I think, in American media, like, it's almost like these guys are monsters. Like, are these guys just normal people in a way?
Yeah, they're normal guys and gals in the sense that, just like us standing here, we can sit and have a conversation. Now, in the right circumstances, would one of them kill me if they could? Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't get real personal. They're just trying to do their thing. And so it is what it is.
So you had to survive on your own from an early age?
Yeah, well, I have my sisters, really. It was really my sisters helping to hold it down. Once I seen, like, the pressure put on them, it takes a toll on you and me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the youngest of 9. When my mom was locked up and my father passed away, you know what I'm saying? It was really just me and my siblings. And I have my older brothers don't have papers, they're in Mexico, you get me? And one of them already died. So it's just me and my sisters, and then I have a brother who really be on his own world. So I really had to, like, either step in or step out. Once you get into this, like, the money is here, this is really what makes you, a little bit.
Damn, that's crazy. That's how they smuggle them guns. I need one though. I don't think I need one. I'm just kidding. I think the gun gonna make me, like, push me to do stuff. That's not, you know what I mean? But I don't think I need a gun. I'm gonna stay away from gun. My leg is itchy right now. I'm about to play GTA right now, and then I'm gonna be online. Say still.